You are listening to PastThink.com audiobook. Please like and subscribe, thank you. Chapter 42. Zhang Fei wreaks havoc at the bridge. Xuanda retreats in defeat. So the two brothers think they can stop Zilong. Well, one falls from his horse dead as a stone when Zilong attacks, enabling him to make a bid for freedom. He is hotly pursued by the other brother. He rides so fast and furiously that he is able to touch the tail of Zilong's horse. Zilong turns and with one swing of his sword kills his pursuer, then, facing forward again, he rides as if devils themselves were after him, towards the bridge and the hill where Xuanda awaits him. But his troubles are not over yet, for streaming after him comes Wenping and his troops, crying out for vengeance. His horse is almost dead on its feet, when Zilong at last reaches the bridge, and he cries out for Zhang Fei to help him. "Get yourself across quickly," shouts Zhang Fei. "I'll deal with this lot." So on Zilong rides until at long last he reaches Xuanda. Weeping, he dismounts and bows before Xuanda. "I've failed, and my punishment should be death," he gasps. Lady Mi was so badly wounded she was unable to ride, and instead threw herself down a well. She died, and all I could manage was to quickly cover up the well by pushing over a ruined wall. So I placed the child here inside my breastplate and battled my way through the enemy. He must be a sacred and divinely protected child, because through his grace I've made it through. I hope he is protected by the gods, because he cried when we set out, but I've heard nothing for a while, and now I'm fearful that he didn't make it through after all." So saying, Zilong opens his armor, and to his delight discovers the child is fast asleep. "Thank goodness your son is all right," he says as he hands the child to his father. Imagine his astonishment when Xuanda throws the child to the ground. He is furious and cries out, "To protect this child I very nearly lost my greatest commander." Zilong lifts the child from the ground as he kowtows before Xuanda, declaring that even if he were to die he could not do more to prove his loyalty to Xuanda. Back at the bridge, Wenping arrives to find Zhang Fei in command, and behind him dust rising in huge clouds. Wenping is thus convinced Zhang Fei has command of a formidable force of men. So ferocious is Zhang Fei's glare and shouts of defiance that no one dares attack. Everyone is convinced that Kong Ming has set yet another cunning trap. Even when Cao Cao himself rides up, not even he dare attack. Zhang Fei constantly shouts challenges and threats at the enemy, calling them cowards and daring them to attack him. Fear sweeps through the enemy forces, and even Cao Cao feels the force of it. So much so that he turns tail and flees, his horse panicking, and rides pell-mell until he is slowed and brought to a stop by his commanders. When Zhang Fei sees this full-scale retreat and confusion, he takes the opportunity to destroy the bridge and tells his men to cut loose the branches tied to their horses' tails. Then he rides back to tell Xuanda of all that has taken place. Annoyed, Xuanda has to point out to Zhang Fei that, while he might be a mighty and brave warrior, he is no strategist. Cao Cao will interpret the destruction of the bridge as a sign of weakness. If the bridge had been left, then fear of a trap would have kept Cao Cao at bay. Now he will know that there is no such trap, and that Xuanda is frightened of attack. So he will now go on the offensive. So saying, Xuanda and his men start to retreat towards the river. And, as Xuanda predicted, Cao Cao sees the destruction of the bridge as a sign of exactly that weakness, and pontoon bridges are created that very night to ferry the vast army across the bridgeless river. Soon the advance guard is across the river, and heading for Xuanda and his men, when out of the blue a warrior with a troop of 10,000 men bursts onto the scene. It is none other than Guan Yu. Convinced this is indeed part of a Kong Ming trap, Cao Cao and his men turn and retreat, while Guan Yu protects his brother's retreat to the banks of the further river. At the river, embarkation is well underway when from the south side of the river drums are heard. Looking downriver, Xuanda sees an armada of ships bearing down upon them in full sail. Initial terror turns to relief when Xuanda sees that the fleet is led by none other than Lu Qi, who, upon landing, kowtows to Xuanda and offers his support to his imperial uncle. But then a new fleet of warships is spotted coming from the southwest. Convinced this must be the fleet of Cao Cao's navy, Xuanda's men are in fear of defeat, when suddenly they espy a familiar figure in the bow of the lead ship. It is Kong Ming in his habitual Daoist robes, and with him Sun Qian. A war council is held, and it is agreed that the main force will head for Jiangxia, while Guan Yu will stay behind to defend Xiakou with just 5,000 men. This deters Cao Cao, who turns aside to take the surrender of Jingzhou, and here he prepares for his main attack. His troops number 830,000, which Cao Cao rounds up by claiming he has 1,000,000 men bearing arms. The scale of this army is almost unimaginable. The soldiers' camps alone stretch for hundreds of miles along the great river. Back at Sun Quan's headquarters, in the capital of the state of Wu, news of Cao Cao's advance has reached them, and the taking of Jingzhou right up against their border deeply alarms Sun Quan's advisors. It is decided to send Lu Su to Xuanda to suggest an alliance against Cao Cao. At the same time, Kong Ming is persuading Xuanda to form exactly such an alliance. He has realized the perilous state of Wu now that Cao Cao is up against their own borders. In response, they are very likely to turn to Xuanda for assistance. This way, as Kong Ming points out, if the south wins, then that is the end of Cao Cao. If the north wins, we are there and can take over much of Wu. Kong Ming is therefore delighted when Lu Su arrives offering precisely such a partnership. However, Kong Ming advises Xuanda to be deliberately vague about not only how strong Cao Cao is, but also about whether such an alliance is really in his best interests. In the end, this strategy results in Lu Su inviting Kong Ming to come to see his brother, who is an advisor to Sun Quan, and to discuss a possible alliance. What this leads to we will now find out.